Now to Japan, where leaders from the world's seven richest nations have insisted sanctions against Russia will stay until Moscow fulfills the Minsk agreement. Ukraine was one of the number of topics of the agenda, as well as the international economy, terrorism and climate change. Our correspondent Tom Bell has this report.
Getting stuck into the world's most pressing problems, including the war in eastern Ukraine. Leaders from the group of 7 richest nations tucked into Japanese cuisine this week as they attempted to resolve international economic, security and migration challenges. As is tradition, the visit has been full of the cliché photo opportunities, planting trees, visiting shrines and enjoying the view. But between this, serious topics are at hand, including sanctions against Russia over its intervention in eastern Ukraine. British Prime Minister David Cameron appeared to make the position of the G7 leaders absolutely clear.
On Russia, the G7 has agreed on the vital importance of sanctions rollover in June. Ukraine is the victim of Russian-backed aggression. We must never forget that fact. And the G7 is clear that existing sanctions must remain in place until the Minsk agreement is fully implemented. I believe that is an important decision.
With the Minsk II agreement largely unfulfilled, it's difficult to predict when sanctions against Russia will actually be eased. The G7's message appears to counter the talk of some anti-EU parties in Europe who argue it's about time sanctions are rolled back. But despite these warnings to the Kremlin, the G7 leaders said it's important to maintain dialogue with Russia. They argued this is needed to ensure a comprehensive and sustainable solution to the end of the war in Ukraine. On Friday, US President Barack Obama visited Hiroshima, a reminder of the work the G7 leaders still need to do to reduce the threat of wars worldwide.
It's not only a reminder of the terrible toll of World War II and the death of innocents across continents, but it's also to remind ourselves that the job's not done in reducing conflict, building institutions of peace, and reducing the prospect of nuclear war in the future.
For 17 years, until 2014, Russia formed part of what was the G8 before their invasion of Crimea. As sanctions fatigue takes hold, though, it's anyone's guess if Vladimir Putin will return to the table anytime soon.